ज्ञानातिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनां शलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तानंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे। So today we are discussing verse chapter 13 first canto. Chapter's name is Dhritarashtra quits home. So it's like in the beginning, the sages asked the questions about the activities of Maharaj Parikshit. So now the events are starting here. They are going to in the direction when the Dhritarashtra leaves home, then Pandavas, they leave home and they make Parikshit the king, and then Maharaj Parikshit is cursed by the Brahmana boy, and then how Srimad Bhagavatam is spoken. So all these events are basically leading towards how the Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken. So text 1, Sutta Uvacha, Vidurastirthayatrayam Maitreyad Atmano Gatim Gyatva Gat Dhastinapuram Taya Vakta Vivitsataha. Word by word translation. Sutta Vacha, Srila Sutta Goswami said, Vidura, Tirtha Yatrayam, while traveling to different places of pilgrimage, Maitreya, from the great sage Maitreya, Atmana, of the self, Gatim, destination, Gyatva, by knowing it, Agat, went back, Hastinapuram, the city of Hastinapura. Taya, by that knowledge, Avapta, sufficiently a gainer, Vivitsitaha, being well versed in everything knowable. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Sutta Goswami said, while traveling on a pilgrimage, Vidura received knowledge of the destination of the self from the great sage Maitreya, and then returned to Hastinapur. He became as well versed in the subject as he desired. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Vidura, one of the most prominent figures in the history of Mahabharata. He was conceived by Vyasadeva in the womb of the maidservant of Ambika, mother of Maharaj Pandu. He is the incarnation of Yamraj. Being cursed by Manduka Muni, he was to become a Shudra. The story is narrated as follows. Once upon a time, the state police caught some thieves who had concealed themselves in the hermitage of Manduka Muni. The police constables, as usual, arrested all the thieves and Manduka Muni along with them. The magistrate specifically punished the Muni to death by being pierced by lance. When he was just to be pierced, the news reached the king, and he at once stopped the act of consideration of his being a great Muni. The king personally begged the Muni pardon for the mistake of his men, and the saint at once went to Yamraj, who prescribes the destiny of the living beings. Yamraj, being questioned by the Muni, replied that the Muni in his childhood pierced an ant with a sharpened straw, and for that reason he was put into difficulty. The Muni thought it was unwise on the part of Yamraj that he was punished for his childish innocence, and thus the Muni cursed Yamraj to become a Shudra. And this Shudra incarnation of Yamraj was known as Vidura, the Shudra the Shudra brother of Dhritarashtra and Maharaj Pandu. But this Shudra son of Kuru dynasty was equally treated by Bhishma Deva along with his other nephews, and in due course, Vidura was married with a girl who was also born in the womb of a Shudrani by a Brahmana. Although Vidura did not inherit the property of his father, the brother of Bhishma Deva, still he was given sufficient state property by Dhritarashtra, the elder brother of Vidura. Vidura was very much attached to his elder brother, and all along he tried to guide him on the right path. During the fratricidal war of Kurukshetra, Vidura repeatedly imported his elder brother to do justice to the sons of Pandu. But Duryodhana did not like such interference by his uncle, and thus he practically insulted Vidura. This resulted in Vidura leaving home for pilgrimage and taking instructions from Maitreya. Om Agyana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakya Chakshurunvitamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So in the purport, in this verse, as we see that Vidura is coming back and coming back to Hastinapur, and Srila Prabhupada, he describes the history of Vidura. So I will just elaborate a little bit more on what Srila Prabhupada has said in the purport. So as we know, Vidura is a very prominent figure in the history of Mahabharata. And then Srila Prabhupada discusses that how Vidura was conceived, like who was his father. So Vidura was a great personality. His father was Srila Vyasadeva. And then who he was in the past life. So Srila Prabhupada has explained the story. I will just elaborate it a little bit more. So in the previous life, Vidura was Yamraj. And what happened once, Manduka Rishi, he was performing some meditation in his hermitage. And there were some thieves who were running away from the police. They stole some gold stuff and they were running away. And they were scared that they will be caught. So what they did, they saw, okay, the sage is just meditating. So they went inside the hermitage of Manduka Rishi. They hid their stuff over there and they hid themselves there too. Then when the police arrived and tried to talk to Manduka Rishi, he didn't talk because he was doing the meditation. So the police did the search in the hermitage and they found both the thieves and the goods, the stolen goods. So naturally, police concluded that Manduka Rishi is also part of this conspiracy. So the police, they they arrested both the thieves and the Manduka Rishi, and magistrate of the city, he said that he gave this especially to the sage. That's what Srila Prabhupada said. Especially to the sage, he gives the order to be hanged by like to be killed by lance. I don't know what does he mean to be killed by lance, but that's what it is mentioned. So Manduka Rishi, when he was about to be killed by the lance, just at that moment, somehow the king came to know that this has happened. The king felt so scared, fearful. He just ran towards there himself. He ran himself. He did not send anyone. He ran himself to that place, and then he immediately asked the soldiers to release the Manduka Rishi. And he really begged pardon from Manduka Rishi about what was being done. So Manduka Rishi said that that's okay, you are not at fault, you're fine. Then Manduka Rishi left, and then he was really wondering that, his whole life, he lived his whole life in such a way, he was very careful, performing the austerities. Then how come he had to see this? So here, like I was thinking, my meditation point was this, on this point, that many times it happens in our lives that unjustly we are not like we have not done certain things, but unjustly we are basically we are given we are charged for something, or we are charged, or you can say we bear the consequences of something we have not done. And it's very frustrated. Sometimes we hear that life is very unfair, but if we look at it in the broader picture, nothing happens randomly. Here Manduka Rishi, what is he thinking? He's thinking that he did not do anything wrong in his whole life. How come he's getting this he went into this situation? So what was done by him previously in his previous life? So he was curious. So we can see that even though currently we might be being charged unjustly, or things are happening in our life, those are unjust, it is very frustrating. But we need to understand that it is sometimes the things are not based on what we are doing right now. It is based on the result of our past activities. So our current circumstances, we cannot change our current circumstances, because the current circumstances are based on our past activities, right? So we cannot change the current circumstances, but what we can change is our response to the situation. And by doing that, we are changing our future. So now here, Manduka Rishi, he goes to Yamraj, and he asks Yamraj, can you please tell me that why was I put into such situation? What did I do in my previous life or in this life? So Yamraj says, when you were a small kid, then you pierced the ant with a thorn. So the ant went through with that pain. So that's why you were put into this situation. So Manduka Rishi got angry. He said that when I was a child, I was innocent. I didn't even know what I was doing. And you are punishing me for what I did during my innocence. He immediately curses him to become a Shudra. So since the sage was very powerful, his curse was immediately effective. And Yamraj, he made another demigod, Aryaman, who was competent, make him the Yamraj. And he was like, Yamraj was very powerful. He could have easily counteracted the curse, but he knew that Krishna is appearing. And Krishna, as in Vrindavan, he appears once in a day of Brahma. So he understood that this is plan of Krishna. So he accepted the curse, and he went to he took, at that moment, he took his soul took shelter in the womb of the maidservant of Ambika, and by Srila Vyasadeva. So that is how Vidura, who was Yamraj previously, became Vidura. And then Vidura, here we see that Vidura is coming back from his pilgrimage. So actually he came back from his pilgrimage after 30 years of his pilgrimage. And as in the verse, it is mentioned that he went to many places, and he also met Maitreya Rishi. So now the question arises, Vidura was a pure devotee. The devotees are tolerant, titikshava. So why did Vidura leave the palace? And these are the questions, those are asked by the Shaunaka Rishi. So Shaunaka Rishi was asking Shukadeva Goswami that why did Vidura leave? Means, first of all, he was in the palace. He was living in the palace. He's getting all the kingly opulences. He needs anything, it's right there for him. And the second reason is that sometimes Krishna used to visit the palace, and wherever Krishna goes, it's like, place of pilgrimage. It's like Vrindavan. So why did Vidura was getting the chance to see Krishna? Why did Vidura leave? And he was tolerant. He could have tolerated the insults of Duryodhana. Why did he leave? And the sages asked that first question, why did he leave? Second, and this was the question asked by Parikshit Maharaj also, that Vidura was a great devotee of Krishna, and he met Maitreya, who was a devotee of Krishna. So what were the talks between Vidura and Maitreya? And the third point was that what did Vidura do when he left the palace? So now what was happening in Hastinapur? Okay, in Hastinapur, what was happening? Let me open the third canto. Actually, it is in the beginning of third canto. Yeah. So what was happening in Hastinapur? The Pandavas, Pandu died. Pandavas came under the shelter of Dhritarashtra. And unfortunately for Dhritarashtra, he was blind. He couldn't become the king. And because of that, Pandu became the king. When Pandu left to forest, that time, like, Dhritarashtra was just replacing it for some time. He was not like real king. So then Dhritarashtra wanted his son to Duryodhana to become the king, but it is Yudhishthira who was the rightful heir for the kingdom because of his qualities and also because of his being the eldest son. But when the Pandavas came under the shelter of Dhritarashtra, then Dhritarashtra, along with Duryodhana, they tried everything to kill the Pandavas. They put the Mahal of Lac, the palace of Lac. They tried to burn them. They tried to poison them. And not only that, they insulted their wife. And when Dushasan was bringing Draupadi by her hair, Dhritarashtra was sitting there. He did not say a single word to stop it. And their wife was insulted. And then the Yudhishthira, he was cheated out of his kingdom. In the gambling match, he was cheated. But Yudhishthira was like, he was personified religion. He was a man of his word. So although he was cheated, but still he followed the promise. He went to the forest. He, along with his brothers and Draupadi, they all went to the forest. For 12 years, they lived 1 year incognito over there. And then after that, when the Pandavas, completing all what was said, they came to Dhritarashtra to get their kingdom back. Then Duryodhana said, no, I'm not going to give your kingdom back. So they said that, we are Kshatriya, we cannot do anything. We have to rule. We cannot get any job. At least if you're not giving us the kingdom, at least give us 5 villages. Duryodhana said, famously Duryodhana said that I will not give you a place of land even as big as it is taken by the tip of the needle. And then the war was inevitable. But still, Yudhishthira, he was powerful. He was very powerful. And he was supported by his most powerful brothers. But still, Yudhishthira did not attack directly at that time. That time, they asked Krishna to go there. So Krishna goes there as a messenger. This is also very amazing. Krishna is the supreme personality of God. He gives orders. He does not take orders. But still, he's bound by the love of devotees. So it is said that the love reigns spiritual world. Like here in material world, it's envy, jealousy, and all those things, they reign. But in a spiritual world, only love reigns. So Krishna, who is, although he's He's the supreme controller, but he's controlled by the love of his devotees. So he went there. That's why he becomes the chariot driver of Arjuna. That's why he becomes the messenger of the Pandavas. So as a messenger, he goes to Dhritarashtra and tries to talk to them, tries to bring them to their senses, to do some compromise. Then Duryodhana doesn't listen. Instead, he tries to bind Krishna. He tries to put Krishna in jail. That time, Krishna showed a little bit of his powers, but still Arjuna was so blind, he didn't see it. And then after that, when Krishna goes back, then Dhritarashtra, he calls Vidura, because Vidura was his brother, and he was well-wisher of them. He always gave them the good advice, which was good for them. So Dhritarashtra, he calls Vidura that what should I do at this point? And asked by Dhritarashtra, Vidura is going to tell what he thinks is right. He says three things over there. And before we hear those, what Vidura is going to say, because Vidura is going to speak very strong words, but we need to understand the heart of Vidura. He was not speaking out of envy. He was not speaking out of anger. He was speaking out of he was speaking as like, their well-wisher. He was wishing, because he knew by doing that will be best in the interest of Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, and all the Kuru dynasty. So in third canto, first chapter, I think it starts 11th verse. Yes, 11th verse. So I will just read the translation, what Vidura is saying. So Vidura is saying, you must now return the legitimate share to Yudhishthira, who has no enemies. Means Yudhishthira has no enemies. Don't make enemy. Don't create enemies for him. And who has been forbearing through untold sufferings due to your offenses. All the sufferings that were mentioned. And there were much more. He's waiting with his younger brothers, among whom is revengeful Bhima, breathing heavily like a snake. Bhima, like when he was in the forest, first of all, he took the vow to kill all of Dhritarashtra's sons, all 100 sons, and tear their chest apart and drink the blood of especially Dushasana. And when Bhima was in the jungle, he was like breathing like an angry snake. It was very difficult for him to live single day. Every day he was remembering the insult that was done by the Kauravas. And here Bhima was waiting to get the time to take the revenge. So that is what Vidura is saying, that surely you are afraid of him. And then second point Vidura is making. So first point is, do not make enemy of Yudhishthira. And it is not in your good interest. And because Bhima is waiting to do that, and they are powerful, it's not that just the word, they are capable of doing it. And the second point Vidura is making, Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, has accepted the sons of Pritha as his kinsmen. And all the kings of the world are with Lord Shri Krishna. Means it's if you look at it politically, it was not intelligent for Dhritarashtra to do that, because they are supported by Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead himself. And he's present in his home with all his family members, the kings and princes of Yadu dynasty, who have conquered an unlimited number of rulers, and he's their lord. And the third point that Vidura is mentioning, Duryodhan, you are maintaining the offense personified. He's calling Duryodhan the offense personified. Duryodhan, as your infallible son, he's envious of Lord Krishna. He's demon. He's envious. He's going against Lord Krishna. And because you are thus maintaining a non-devotee of Krishna, you are devoid of all auspicious qualities. Relieve yourself of this ill fortune as as soon as possible and do good to the whole family. And guess what? Duryodhan, along with Shakuni and Karna, other brothers, he was sitting there, he was listening to all these things. Now, when Vidura said that, in anger, Duryodhan's lips started to curl. He was like getting very restless, very angry. And he was trembling because of anger when he heard those words. And then Duryodhan, he spoke the most harsh words to Vidura. And now, when Vidura is speaking such words earlier, he was, from his heart, he was well-wisher of both Duryodhan and Dhritarashtra and everyone. But here, Duryodhan, when he's speaking such words, he's speaking out of envy and out of anger. So Duryodhan is saying, who asked him to come here? This son of a kept mistress? He's so crooked that he spies in the interest of the enemy against those whose support he has grown up. Toss him out of the palace immediately and leave him with only his breath. Means just leave him only with his life. So Duryodhan not only attacked Vidura's birth, I'm reading from Srila Prabhupada's purport. Duryodhan not only attacked Vidura's birth, but also called him an infidel because he seemed to support the cause of Yudhishthira, whom Duryodhan considered his enemy. And like person like Vidura, he charged that Vidura was a spy of Pandavas because he advised King Dhritarashtra in their favor. Such is the situation of palace life, Srila Prabhupada says, and the intricacies of diplomacy, that even a faultless person like Vidura could be charged with something abominable and punished. Vidura was struck with wonder at such unexpected behavior from his nephew Duryodhan. And before anything actually happened, he decided to leave the palace for good. So these were the words of Duryodhan, such a sharp words. Like if someone just to say small words in comparison to this, like I would be hurt, I would keep those feelings, right? But here, let's see how a devotee, Vidura, is accepting that. The devotees, it's very difficult to know the heart of a devotee, the activities of a devotee. We can only know the heart of a devotee through the pure devotee. And here we are seeing the heart of a devotee through Shukadev Goswami and Srila Prabhupada. So it's like thus being pierced by arrows through his ears, affected to the core of his heart. So the words of Duryodhan were like arrows entered through the ears and it pierced the heart, right? But so Vidura means he was like, it's not that he was unaffected, he was hurt by the words of Duryodhan. But how did he respond to the situation? That is the amazing part here. So here what is happening, this is the Vidura, he's thinking in his heart that this Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, under the control of the material energy, they are carving their path towards ruination. I cannot do anything to help them anymore. And this is the act, he says, he is thinking, for he considered the acts of the external energy to be the supreme, because this is the act of an external energy, since he's Duryodhan causing all the offenses. By doing all these things, he's just carving his path towards his ruination. Vidura cannot help it now. So how did Vidura take it? So Duryodhan, he was speaking out of anger So there is one act that is happening, but two energies, those are acting right now. On one act, two energies are acting. First is the Mahamaya. So Mahamaya is like Arjun is getting mad and he is saying bad things to Vidura, his faultless uncle Vidura. And how Vidura is taking is, how Vidura is responding is, out of his devotion, this Mahamaya, this external energy is getting converted into the internal energy. And how that is mentioned by Srila Prabhupada in the purport. Vidura was never attracted by the royal place or palace of the brother. He was always ready to leave the place and devote himself completely to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So before I go there, I just want to add one thing. How Vidura was able to respond the way he responded. And the reason was his detachment. That is what Srila Prabhupada says. Vidura was never attracted by the royal palace. A devotee is always in a renounced temperament because the worldly attractions can never satisfy him. So in one of the lectures, Srila Prabhupada gives the example of a train. In the train, we are going, let's say we are going somewhere in the train, and like if you have traveled in trains in India, we know how crowded it is. So the train is very crowded, there is no space to sit. Let's say there is some small space to sit, and I wanted to sit there, but someone else comes and sits over there. If I'm very attached to the seat, I would do everything, fight and this and that to go back to my seat. But if we have that thing in my mind, okay, this train, I am in this train only for 2 hours. Like, what is the point in fighting over this seat? Let the other person take the seat and let me stand. After all, I need to get down of the train after some time. So if one is detached, then one acts in that manner. But if one is attached, one acts in the manner when the way Duryodhana is acting, right? So Vidura, he was never attached. He was always ready to leave the palace and to be able to perform the devotional service onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was not able to go do that. So this, he took it as a plan of Krishna. That, okay, this is the plan of Krishna. Very mercifully, through the words of Duryodhana, he's guiding me to take his shelter, leave the palace, completely depend on Krishna, go for the pilgrimage, meet with the devotees, progress in my spiritual life rather than living in the palace. And that is how Vidura took it. And here, Srila Prabhupada says that he therefore thought that there was no need to defend his brother Dhritarashtra, because till now Vidura was defending his brother Dhritarashtra. So he therefore thought that there was no need to defend his brother and to defend his brother with his bow, because his brother was meant for ruination. Thus he left the palace before Duryodhana could act. He left his bow on the side because he did not need the bow anymore, Vidura. He left the bow on the side and he just left immediately. So thus he left the palace before Duryodhana could act. Maya, the supreme energy of the Lord, acted here both internally and externally. That is the amazing part. Very wonderful part, that the one action and two different energies acting. And with this point, I just wanted to go back a little. When I was speaking about my reflection that life is, sometimes we say life is unfair. I didn't do this. Why am I getting the result of this? This is not fair. Means how can other person get it although he did nothing, but still he's getting he is getting more help. I need help. I'm not, although I help others, but no one is helping me. People are unfair, right? But the point I was making over there is that what is happening with me, the people are not helping me right now, because in the past I might have done something and I'm getting the result now. So the present we cannot change, but we can change the future by the way we act or we respond to our present situation. So it is the response that we can change. It is not the situation that we can change. So here we see that how by the response, Vidura, the great devotee of Krishna, how by the response he changed the external energy into the internal energy. Vidura could have gotten angry too, like, how come you're speaking to me like that? I didn't mean that. I'm always thinking of your well-wisher and blah, blah, blah. Vidura could have blasted at Arjuna. Duryodhana. Vidura had the right to do so. He was his uncle. But no, he responded in a different manner. And how he was able to do that? Because of his detachment. If we are not detached, then it is difficult for us to respond in this manner. So the way we respond, it basically, the way we respond to our situation, we are changing our future. And at the same time, we are converting the external energy into the internal energy. And then after this happened, Vidura, he with his unshaved, uncleaned hair, he roamed around all the holy places. He roamed, and then he met Maitreya Muni. So when he met Maitreya Muni, he asked him questions, and in the we don't have enough time, to describe all the questions and glories of Vidura, but just a small thing I would say. When Vidura met Maitreya Rishi, first he asked about the relationship between the material energy creation, material energy, and relationship between material energy and Krishna, and about the creation. And then he discussed the pastimes of Krishna. It's very important. And the reason it is very important is that if we do not know who Krishna is, if we do not know the glories of Krishna, then if we jump directly to the pastimes of Krishna, then we may misinterpret pastimes of Krishna like our activities. Because first we need to understand who Krishna is. Then only we can understand the pastimes of Krishna. And there is one more thing that interesting thing that Srila Prabhupada mentions, the purport of 3.1.17. And he says that Vidura, when he left for pilgrimage, he could have easily gone to see Krishna first. But he didn't go to see Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada gives the reason. And the reason he didn't go to Krishna first was because he thought that he still have the sinful reaction, especially staying in the palace. He must have gained some sinful reaction. So he did not consider himself purified enough to go and see Krishna first. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Tesham antagatam papam. One who has completely freed of sinful reactions can engage in my devotional service fully with fixed determination. So on this point, I just want to mention one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 23rd chapter, 33 verse. And this verse is being spoken by Krishna himself to the wives of Brahmanas. When the wives of Brahmanas, they come to give the food to Krishna, they left their husbands, they came to Krishna, and then Krishna asks them to go back to their husbands. So the wives of Brahmanas were mortified. They did not want to go back. So then Krishna says this amazing verse. I really liked it. So the verse is Shramya Darshanadhyayan Mai Bhavo Anukirtanat Na Tatha Sannikarshena Pratyat Tato Grahan. Translation: It is by hearing about me, seeing my deity form, meditating upon me, and chanting my names and glories that love for me develops, not by physical proximity. Therefore, please go back to your homes. This is very important. Duryodhana also saw Krishna. So many people, they also saw Krishna. They did not develop love for Krishna. Just that's what Krishna is saying. One does not develop love by my physical proximity, but it is by hearing about me, by hearing the glories of Krishna. That is why Vidura, he left and he met Maitreya Rishi. There is I was remembering one incident when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was giving his lecture, and then suddenly the temple curtain door opened of the temple, and his disciples, they ran to see the deities. When they came back, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was not happy. He said that you did not see the deity, you just saw the stone, because we see the deities through hearing from Krishna. By hearing from the devotees or Krishna about Krishna. So this is what Krishna is saying. It is by hearing about me, seeing my deity form, meditating upon me, and chanting my names and glories that love for me develops, not by physical proximity. So Krishna is saying, therefore, please go back to your homes. And it's amazing that that is the process that Srila Prabhupada has given us. So this is what I had to, there was one more thing that I wanted to speak, and I'll just say a little bit. So now Vidura is coming after 30 years of his pilgrimage. He was very respected by everyone other than Duryodhana. So although Duryodhana knew in his heart that Vidura is his well-wisher, but he had this attachment to become a king. So everyone respected him. So while Vidura is coming back, he was insulted by Duryodhana in front of Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra did not say a single word to defend him. So why Vidura is coming back to the palace? Is he coming back to get the respect, or is he coming back to enjoy again the palatial living? No, he's coming back because Dhritarashtra, he's so old right now, and he's at the verge of death, but still he's so attached to palace, he's so attached to opulence, that he's living in that palace at the cost of his own respect. Means he's living with Bhima, who killed all his 100 brothers. Although Yudhishthira was treating him like his father, but still Dhritarashtra was not taking any steps towards his next life, perfecting his current life, and he was heading towards the death. So that is why Vidura came. This is the heart of a pure devotee. Although he's insulted, but still he's thinking, he's wishing well of his brother. That is Vidura. So with that, I will end this. And if there are any discussions or questions and we can take it. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. If there are no questions, Prabhu, then we can end it.
Maybe need to say it for a few seconds, Mataji, maybe sometimes.
Okay, Prabhu, sure. Sure.
Yeah, it was very, beautiful description of, Vidura's glories, Mataji. Thank you so much. I think the point touched upon Vidura's detachment, because he was able to take it, he was able to act in the right way, right? So he could leave the palace, though Krishna is there. Of course, he was feeling that he is not eligible to take association, because so many, Krishna is there in the palace, and he could have taken the association of the Lord. Instead of that, he went to visit the holy places, right? And he attached, he got more attachment to the Lord instead of being in person, right? So, but we are not detached like Vidura, right? So,
Yes, Prabhu.
and also, I was just thinking, Mataji, still, the question that's why I was saying that we need to wait few seconds. Every day I see that other devotees also are, asking a lot of things after couple of minutes. So, thinking, so,
Sure,
what
Prabhu.
we need to do, right? We are not in the, we are not, of course, not in that position. So, but a lot of things, we do, and we also get things. So, but we'll not be able to take it in a right way. We act. I think the other thing you mentioned, because Vidura was, he's being an uncle, right? So to Duryodhana, he could have, he was actually well wisher, right? So for them, but then they were, of course, Duryodhana was thinking that he was giving the, what do you call, he was giving the shelter to Vidura. He was acting the way he wanted to do it, right? So, but still Vidura would have uh, told him that, okay, I'm your well-wisher, what are you saying, right? So, but he did not do that. So he acted and left the place. So, but yeah, so we are not, I mean, there, right? So, how do we, instead of counteracting, or we are not detached, right? Completely out, and we cannot even, the other thing is that counteracting is also not a right thing directly. So what should be, I was just thinking, Mataji, that question. So maybe if you want to share something. So
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, you're right, Prabhu. We are not there. So, because we are still attached. And so that is why, since we are attached, so that's why most of the times we react instead of responding to the situation. And so then we are entangling ourselves more. So on that, Prabhu, like what my thought process is that handle it on the level I am right now, in the sense that let's say that there is two kids are fighting, and I'm just thinking of a good example. Let's say 3-4 kids are playing, and one kid takes away something from the other kid, and then the other kid is attached to that thing that is taken away. So other kid starts crying. Now there are two different reactions that is possible. First is that if I'm still attached to something, that if the kid is still attached to something that other kid has taken, then we can just let the kid know that don't do it. I don't like it. This is, I want to eat it too. But and then the other stage could be that when we are not attached, okay, that's fine. She has taken, let her take it. So then, okay, that's fine then. The point I'm trying to make is, Prabhu, that we need to act on the situation I am. For example, if someone says something to me and I get hurt, then I don't speak immediately at that time, but after some time, when I'm cool down and I can speak with my sane mind, not with my emotions overflowing, then I will just go and talk to the person that means I didn't like it the way you talked to me. So can you please be, I got hurt, something like that. So that because I got hurt, and that is how because I'm not at the stage right now that I'm not getting hurt. It is Krishna is trying to teach me something. I'm not at that stage. I do get hurt. So I just let the other person know nicely that once I get hurt. So I think that is how I take it, Prabhu, based on, my state, how I'm feeling at that time. I react accordingly. Not react, but at that time I try not to react. That time I don't say anything. But later on, when I talk, I clearly express my feelings. And somehow I feel it is better because that brings us better understanding.
Yes.
I don't know, Prabhu, if you have also any realization, please let me know, Prabhu. What do you think about it?
No, Mataji, I think, yeah, you, I mean, I was just thinking the point you said. So, I mean, share the feelings. I mean, of course, we need to understand our feelings. So, share those feelings later on when we are in cool minded, not to respond immediately, because our response is going to be again like Duryodhana's reaction.
Yes, Prabhu. It's like what is that statement? The best speech we would ever regret. Right, Prabhu? If we say it in those emotions, then
Yes.
it would be the best speech we would regret in future. So,
Thank
yes,
you.
thank you, Prabhu. And the other thing, Prabhu, I was just thinking that when we are when we chant like Chet Darpan Marjanam, so we take the practical step in our current situation. At that same time, when we continue to chant, the purification is happening in our heart. And when we hear the glories of Krishna, then we develop attachment towards Krishna. And when we develop attachment towards Krishna, then slowly we get that detachment that we are aspiring for. But at the same time, in the current stage, so it's like two railings, the two.
Yeah, got it, Mataji. What you are saying.
Yeah, those two. I'm sorry, Prabhu. Right now I'm blank completely. What those things on which the train goes to the tracks, to parallel tracks. Yes, Prabhu. So one track is I was thinking is um, taking care of it practically, in the sense that based on our current situation, because what happens if we try to act on where we are not, Like if we try to act on Vidura's platform where we are not, it won't. We won't be able to sustain for a long time. The anger will be boiling within it. How can he say that? From us outside, no, that's fine, I'm not hurt, it's very good. Krishna must have some plan for me, or inside myself, how can he said that to me, and this and that, what does he think of himself? So we won't, that won't sustain, and it is like a volcano, jwalamukhi, it will come out now or later. Because on top of that, if something, the other person will say, okay, she didn't mind that, I can do that more, so other person will keep on doing it more, and then it will be like under just a jwalamukhi, the volcano is building up to come out. So that's why if we try to act on the platform of the Vidura and others where we are not, it is not going to help. So it is best to act based on what we are right now, and knowing that very well, that we are not there, and at the same time keep on chanting, hearing about Krishna, and then Cheto Darpana Marjana, that purification will happen. For sure it will happen. So
Yes,
thank you,
thank you
Prabhu.
so much for adding this. Yeah, 758 Mataji, I think, if not comments, maybe if you want.
Okay, Prabhu, sure.